our comments have exploded through the roof. So there you go.
Good afternoon, Lancaster. Welcome to Lancaster Connects. My name is Ben McClure, one of your co-hosts here at Lancaster Connects. If you're watching, I'm so glad that you tuned in. We have a wonderful guest on the show today. We're going to bring her on in a little bit. We're actually going to be talking to Melinda Clark from North Star Initiative, which is an amazing nonprofit right here in Lancaster County, really doing very, very important work here in the Lancaster community. So excited to have this conversation. We'll bring her on in just a few minutes. Until then, you'll listen to me, ramble a little bit. Again, thank you for watching Lancaster Connects. Lancaster Connects is a show where we highlight organizations in the Lancaster community doing amazing work. So again, like our guest coming up here, we highlight nonprofits and charitable organizations, community benefit organizations, we like to call them, organizations that help people in Lancaster County and, of course, beyond. We also like to have conversations with small businesses, maybe like the business that I co-own with my business partner, Jeff Giannakovo, Gardener's Mattress and More. Lancaster Connects is one of our ways to give back to the Lancaster community. Of course, we donate mattresses to Off the Streets. We have a food donation program that our customers help us out with. But we like to have conversations with other small business owners who have an angle to give back to the community. And there's tons of family-owned and operated businesses like that in the Lancaster community. Places to watch this show. Some of you, if you're watching right now, you're maybe watching on Facebook. We stream on the Gardener's Mattress and More and Lancaster Connects Facebook pages. Also on YouTube. Chris has got the subscribe button up there. Our subscribers are creeping up. Means more people are watching and paying attention, almost at 500 subscribers. So I think we'll get there soon. We're on episode 187 right now. And I'd love to get there by episode 200. That'd be cool. Just a handful of more subscribers to go. So thanks for watching there. We'd love to hear you during the show. Even though you're only listening to me and you're going to listen to our guest Melinda in just a little bit, you have a voice during the show as well. Give us a comment either through YouTube or Facebook. It'll show up on our end. Maybe you have a question for our guest. Maybe you'd like to just say hello in the chat. Maybe just like to give us a little heart emoji because you like what we're talking about, or you like what the organization that we're highlighting does and what they're all about. Again, would just love to hear from you during the show. And share the show too. Again, you're watching it live on Facebook or YouTube. You can copy the link in YouTube, but you can share it in Facebook. Share it with your social network. Again, the more people that this show is in front of, the more people our nonprofits that we highlight on the show can be impacted, or the more impact they have with the Lancaster community. I know what I wanted to say. I don't know if I said it right, but the more eyeballs that are watching the show, the more impact the show has. Guests, if you'd like to be a guest on Lancaster Connects, we'd love to tell your story. At the moment, we're booked through, I believe, Memorial Day, which is fantastic. But we'd love to tell your story. If you're a nonprofit, charitable organization, community benefit organization, small business that gives back to the community here in Lancaster County, go to lancasterconnects.com/guest, fill out the simple form that's there, and let us know why you'd be a good fit for the show. And we will get you on sometime this summer, looking for some awesome conversations to have through the summer months there. I think that's it. If you did want to watch past episodes, you can do that at lancasterconnects.com while you're there. lancasterconnects.com/episodes. Man, Chris, I throw you all kinds of curveballs, and you just press the right buttons. If anybody out there is looking for podcast production, Chris at Cast Ahead Productions. Chris, feel free to, put your logo on the screen there, flip it up there. Cast Ahead Productions. Chris Stone has been our producer for, almost there. There you go, castahead.net. Chris, I wasn't serious. No, castahead.net. Chris Stone, he's been doing our podcast for, I don't know, maybe 4 years or so. There's some confetti. He's the one that makes this show look amazing. Again, we have amazing guests. I'm just kind of blessed to be in this spot, to be able to, interview amazing people every week, and Chris presses a button to make us, I think, makes us look great. So, all right, enough babbling. Let's bring out our guest. Again, today we've got Melinda Clark. Hey, Melinda, how are you?
Hey, it's great to see you, Ben. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's great to have you here. So you are the CEO of North Star Initiative. Do I have that correct?
That is my privilege. Yes, sir.
Yeah, awesome. Well, this is cool because we had North Star Initiative on the show way back when, like one of our first, within maybe the first 10 or 15 episodes or so, pre-guest production.
Before the confetti is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. It was a different time back then, but I know your work at North Star Initiative is very much the same as it was then. I'd like to dig into what North Star Initiative is, what you do, why the nonprofit exists, and then of course maybe talk about some things that are different, things that you're doing now that maybe we didn't talk about way back then, and I want to also talk about towards the end of the conversation how the community can help North Star Initiative. Either that's get the word out financially, volunteering, whatever it is. So I always like to kind of highlight that as well. But first let's jump into North Star Initiative. What is North Star Initiative?
North Star Initiative is an organization here in Lancaster County and now in Berks County as well that works to end human trafficking and to restore the lives of those who have been affected by this crime. So we do this through a variety of programs, but specifically through educating the community and providing awareness so that we can prevent trafficking from happening. By disrupting trafficking, we work with the task force to make sure that we are disrupting it from happening within our community. And then we work in restoration, specifically with a shelter here in Lancaster County, another one in Berks County, where survivors of sex trafficking specifically can come into the home for a year-long program that focuses on healing the whole person and restoring to them what was taken from them in the experience of being trafficked. So we work with survivors directly every day in their healing so that they can return to the community to flourish as who they're intended to be, valuable members, neighbors in the community, being who they're meant to be all along.
Wow. Okay. So pretty heavy stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. When was North Star Initiative founded?
2010. It was founded by Jen Sensenig, who is a woman in the community who had recently learned about trafficking. And because of what she learned, she paid attention to what was happening in her own community, almost in her own backyard, realizing that a massage parlor that had opened, it seemed off. This didn't seem right. And because of what she had learned recently, started paying closer attention, trying to get to know the women who were working there, got law enforcement involved in bringing a sting that ultimately disclosed a ring that was operating across multiple states. And from there, Jen just, a fire was lit in her. I've talked with Jen, she's a friend, and she just had a fire in her of realizing this isn't just something that's happening out there overseas. It's not just Thailand or India or Malaysia. It's here in Lancaster County. And she started a grassroots movement to bring awareness to the issue. I think the awareness that we have now and what's happening here as a movement is a direct result of the work that she did to bring that education. And then also partnering with law enforcement to do more stings to try to intervene in the lives of women who are maybe being exploited. And out of that, realizing it's not enough just to tell someone they can come out of that situation if there's nowhere for them to go. Often they're in that situation because of exploitation, lack of resources, dysfunctional family dynamics. Where are they supposed to go? We can't just tell them, come out and be fine. And so out of that, we opened the Harbor, which is the first shelter that we have operated in Lancaster County now since 2017, where we can house 6 to 7 women at any given point in time.
Wow, it's a lot. I mean, unbelievable story that, she recognized that, like you said, something just seemed off and she took action. She did something about it. And it's amazing that that's 15 years ago. And I remember having this conversation when North Star was on the show before. You don't really think about Lancaster County as a place where something like this might happen, but it was. You might your city or, like you said, overseas. But this is something that unfortunately goes on in a lot of communities locally. Is that correct?
That is correct. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions, I've had people in the community come up to me and say, I don't think it happens here. Well, I can say that it does. And I say that from personal experience. I think it happens very differently than people envision as trafficking based on the expectations we have from media and social media, that how it happens here is probably very different than what people imagine when they think of trafficking happening overseas. So trafficking happens locally, both in that vulnerable people in our community are targeted by traffickers, criminals who are looking for an inventory for their criminal organizations, someone to exploit. But it also happens because there are women and men who are being exploited, who are brought to Lancaster County.
Okay.
And that's working with the task force that there are, as long as there is a demand for illicit commercial sex, and there are going to be traffickers who are bringing their victims. And I use victims in the criminal sense, Ben, that these are women and men who have been the victim of the crime of trafficking. And they are bringing their victims here to Lancaster County to be exploited.
Boy, when you say the word inventory, that really hits hard. Like, we sell mattresses here, we have mattress inventory that we sell, but to call a person inventory, or, to have that thought process that a person, a human being, a young lady is inventory for these criminals is just unimaginable. It's really tough to hear that word.
It should feel a little gross. It should feel heavy in our guts somewhere to know that precious human beings are being treated as a commodity to be bought and sold and exploited. And I understand that anytime that we talk about our work, it is dark and heavy for people. So I want, first of all, to acknowledge that, and to acknowledge that there are people who might be hearing this recording who are going to feel a lot of things coming up internally because of their own stories and things that they have lived through. So first of all, we want people to be safe as they hear this information, that if people need to step away or take a break, even as we talk through this, I would encourage people to keep just taking a big breath and releasing the tension. I don't want people to come away from our conversation here, Ben, carrying the stress and the trauma of the work that we do at North Star. But it should feel awful somewhere in our guts to know that trafficking at its core, often when I'm doing community presentations, people will say, I just don't understand how anybody could do this. And I explain the only way to make sense of it is to understand that to the criminal, this is a business venture. They are in it to make money because there's money to be made as long as people are willing to pay. As long as people are willing to pay for human beings as a product, somebody is willing to make money off of that. And it is the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world, specifically because criminals have understood that there is money to be made because it is a reusable product. That really should feel right? Like you sell mattresses, and when somebody takes a mattress out of your store, part of your profit goes to restocking your inventory. Part of the reason that criminals have realized the business opportunity is the same person can be re-victimized, exploited repeatedly, and that just increases profits over and over and over again to the criminal who's willing to take advantage.
My goodness. So obviously there's a number of things we can talk about, just to address, if somebody is watching and they have the same thoughts that Jen had back in 2010, instead of them having to themselves do something about what they might see, North Star Initiative is a resource to reach out to immediately, because you have the services and the know-how to handle a situation like that.
So one of the things that we do, and we work to end trafficking in a couple of different ways, Ben, because I believe that we are a community that can become trafficking proof. I don't feel like the crime of human trafficking is an inevitable outcome, that we just have to live with the reality that this is the hypersexualized culture, that this is how people are making money, or that people are exploited and there's nothing we can do. I don't buy into that. I think that this is actually something that we can change in my generation, in our generation, that we can become a community that's trafficking proof. And part of the way that we do that is through education, awareness, empowerment, equipping the community to understand what trafficking actually is, how it actually happens, who could be vulnerable, and how it looks. One of the biggest misconceptions that I run into around trafficking is people picture it, probably thanks to Hollywood, but picture that this happens by force, that somebody's being snatched off the streets, kidnapped, thrown into a white van, and the traffickers drive off with their victim. And while force is one way that trafficking can happen, it is the least likely way. Traffickers are much more likely to spend time grooming a victim that they have identified as being vulnerable, exploiting those vulnerabilities to attach that victim to himself or herself, because the trafficker could be a woman, and attaching that victim to the trafficker until that victim that they have targeted is so attached to the trafficker who's groomed them that they depend so fully on that trafficker to meet their needs that they wouldn't walk away even though they can. Because another misconception that we often have is that traffickers or victims are held captive because they're actually tied up in a back room.
Right.
It is
Right.
much more likely for someone to be exploited by someone presenting themselves as a romantic partner, or exploited by a family member that has so induced a state of psychological manipulation that that victim depends on the person exploiting them for food, for housing, and for human connection, that they feel like that person is loving them like they've never been loved before, doing things for them that nobody else has ever done, providing a sense of importance and value that nobody in their life is providing. And so they wouldn't walk away even though they could, because where else would their needs be met? Who else would care about them like this trafficker is caring about them? So one of the things that we know we can do as a community is to be aware of who might be facing those vulnerabilities, who might be susceptible to being exploited because of what they're living with, and educating the community on how to recognize the red flags, what to do about them, and then how to bring that kind of wraparound care to someone who might otherwise be marginalized, isolated, living on the margins of our community, and could be vulnerable to the trafficker who's looking for a likely target.
Wow. Again, heavy stuff. Chris just had the graphic on the screen there, and again, another one that kind of just hits me right here. 15, the average age of a child to be exploited. I have a 15-year-old daughter at home. Again, that's just, again, it just hits me right there. It's crazy stuff. You talked about the 24/7 restorative care that you provide there. So you're able to rescue somebody out of their situation. I know you have a Christ-centered approach to restorative care. Let's talk a little bit about that. Like what happens when you are able to rescue somebody out? What happens, and how do you handle that situation?
If I may, I'm going to reframe one thing first, because I don't believe
Please.
that we're truly rescuing anyone. I believe that the decision to come out of that situation of exploitation is her decision, and her willingness and desire to want something different for herself. And I don't want to ever portray ourselves as being the rescuers, even though that would feel really good. But I know all that a survivor has to go through to come to the point where she can dream of a different outcome for herself. And she's willing to do the hard work, because it might seem obvious to us, thinking, well, she's being exploited, she's being abused, she's being taken advantage of. Of course, she would want to come out of that, but it is scary. It is scary to do something you've never done before, and scary to fight against the layers of abuse or neglect or exploitation that often go back far into childhood, and are layers of abuse and poverty and neglect and inattention, or a lack of financial resources, lack of academic resources that have kept that person stuck. So once they make a decision that they are willing to do the work that's required for them to actually live out a different reality. We actually, and something that's changed for us since the last time you so kindly hosted us, we now have care across a variety of opportunities or needs for a survivor of trafficking. The restoration program is where we started. It's still the key piece that we offer. It is a trauma-informed, person-centered, strengths-based, very customized program of healing that focuses on that whole person wraparound care. We speak of our Christ-centered focus because it is our faith in Jesus that motivates us to be willing, that not only motivates us to care deeply, but it also gives us great hope and confidence that full healing is possible. One of our residents a few days ago said to me that what she's come to believe since being here is that God truly can heal the unhealable. And I think that without our confidence in God's ability to heal, this would feel overwhelming and impossible. And yet we see this transformation daily. For our residents, that doesn't imply any kind of requirement. They're aware of our faith basis, and they come because they're not only comfortable with that, but in most instances, they want that kind of inclusion in their experience. We don't require them to agree with us. We don't require them to share our faith basis. We don't require them to participate in certain things in order to get care. But we have the freedom, because of our faith-centeredness, to invite their spiritual healing along with all other areas. We are focused on psychological healing, emotional healing, physical healing. We're focused on educational filling the gaps that they might have in their education. And we're also focused on inviting them to experience spiritual healing, because that is part of the whole person experience. It is part of who they are as a person. For many of our residents, what they've experienced in their spiritual lives or spiritual experiences is very closely tied to the abuse that they have experienced. And so inviting them to heal even spiritually is part of their whole person healing. And we're able to invite that curiosity. So there's no requirement, but an open invitation to heal. The 24/7 component means that someone is on site. We have site staff on site who are prepared, equipped, able to meet needs wherever those triggers, behaviors, reactions, or needs might show up. Our residents know that there's going to be someone there and available for them. That if it's in the middle of the night and it is difficulty sleeping or nightmares or terrors or things that prevent them from being able to rest, they are not ever alone in that. And they are never going to be absent the support from our skilled, trained staff. Our coaches and our staff are key to that wraparound care and providing the community experience. One of the things that's true about anybody who's experienced complex trauma, which is every one of the survivors we serve. And to go back, if I could add this in, I spoke earlier about the victims of trafficking have experienced a crime. When someone makes the decision that I referenced earlier to take the step to move towards healing, that is, we start to talk about them as a survivor. They have come through what they've come through. They have the strength and desire and drive and determination to pursue healing for themselves, however that needs to look. And they come into our program and we serve them as the brave, beautiful, funny, independent, strong survivors that they are and are determined to be. And as they experience healing, then they have the opportunity to decide who they want to be. They're going to be overcomers. They've come through the trauma. They've sought healing. They're more than just surviving. They are thriving and flourishing. And we're talking about overcomers. They might decide to be survivor leaders working in this anti-trafficking field. That's not an expectation or requirement, but they might have that drive. They might just choose to be neighbors and to return to the community, to work, to live, to be connected, and just to lead the healthy, fulfilled lives that they are meant for. They come to the program, they have that wraparound care. We have a clinical program, a clinical director, therapists who are working with them to provide, we call it psychoeducation, understanding the process of change, understanding what's happening within themselves, the needs in their brains and their bodies and their emotions, and then starting to really dig into that trauma healing with recovery support, with whatever that person individually specifically needs, and going deeper throughout the phases of the program, starting kind of very base level, establishing a sense of safety and stability, to then starting to dig into the more personalized trauma healing for that individual, going then into workforce readiness. What do you need in order to be able to find and keep work in the community? We know that revictimization happens around a lack of financial stability, and so we want to ensure that that is in place for them moving forward. And then getting towards the end, like once we've established those sustainable workforce rhythms, then we're supporting them in that. It is hard to go back to clocking in at a certain time and being around people, and having new expectations, supporting them as they do that, and then beginning to plan for their exit months ahead, 3-4 months before they're scheduled to leave our program, investing in them, developing in them whatever it is that they need to overcome that experience that they've come from, to return to the community as who they want to be, owning their story, defining their dreams. What do they want to shed from? It could be everything from covering tattoos that were put on them, to earning trade certifications, to starting their own business. What is it that you need to go back to the community and be who you want to be?
It's amazing work. How long might that process take from the time they make the decision to be involved with North Star Initiative to, I mean, maybe it depends from person to person and situation to situation, but is there an average amount of time that you might be working with somebody?
So I started to say earlier, we have actually added an emergency shelter to our program that to close a gap of care that existed in Lancaster County. There was not a place where a survivor could go immediately to have wraparound care from a staff member if they were in a situation, say with one of the stings. We work closely with the anti-trafficking task force, and if they're in a sting, they meet someone who wants to leave. Where do they go? That answer now is North Star. Thanks to our community support, awesome. We now have an emergency shelter where they have access to staff. They can come immediately and have a few days of safety to figure out where they need to go next. From there, they may decide to go into a restoration program like ours, if that's not ever something they've been able to consider for themselves, but now they see it and go, oh, one woman we served with emergency care said to me, if I had known that I would have this many people caring about me and investing in me, I probably would have left a lot sooner. I just didn't know that this existed. Yeah. So we do that now. Then they might go, our restoration program itself is about a year long. And I say about a year because towards the end, we're working on supporting their individual goals. If somebody's working on an academic goal and they just need a little more time to finish, we're going to support that. If somebody is working on a financial goal, we match their savings up to a few $1,000s when they leave the program to give them that buffer for emergencies. And if they're working on that goal and they need a few more weeks to, then we support that. If they're trying to move into another transitional housing program or our transitional housing program, and we need a little more time to just establish where, then we give them that time, because our desire is for them to leave and be fully supported in their next stage. Yeah. One of the biggest risk points for a survivor is in leaving a program like ours. And then you have this like full wraparound support all day, every day. You've experienced so much healing. You're so connected. And now suddenly you step off the cliff to live on your own. So we actually now have also added transitional housing and aftercare so that women leaving our program continue to have weekly touch points with different members of the staff. We're working on what does your wraparound community network of support look like, so that you have that in place, so that you're not traveling solo. If you hit that first bump a financial crisis, an unexpected trigger. Maybe you have been harassed on your job by somebody who's trying to take advantage of you. You are not alone figuring this out. You know that somebody has your back, and you don't have to go looking for them because we're right there walking with you. So I would say that process of really developing those new rhythms of sustained independence would take another year to 2 years of being able to establish new rhythms. And again, the goal is sustained independence and thriving financial sustainability, sustained independence. That's what we want for each woman that we serve. And to do it on her terms, to know what her dreams are, that her dreams matter, and that she's not only capable of achieving them, but we're in it to make that happen.
It's amazing. Again, amazing work. You, in the pre-show, you mentioned the Florissant Collective. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, that is another new initiative that we launched this past year. I talked about the challenge for women to return to the workplace. And we partner with the YWCA around some of their workforce readiness programs. But we also launched Florissant Collective, which is a social enterprise where the women in the program are able to work for Florissant, sign up for shifts, create home goods that we offer for sale on the Florissant website. And all the products for sale on the website have gone through the hands of the survivors who are working in our program. So this not only gives them access to their own income stream for their own spending while they're in the program, but it is also developing those rhythms of showing up, doing the work, being in social relationships with other people, budgeting, developing financial literacy. How am I going to plan for my expenses? Because we saw that the return to workplace rhythms was so challenging. We knew that we wanted to do something to do that on site where it was safe. Like, you're going to practice this first, where it is safe to struggle, because we're going to support you even in understanding how to talk about your story, how to disclose or not, how to reintegrate your triggers if you are dealing with something, and then this is activating something within you. So super proud of our team. In the last year, we launched Florissant Collective as a new social enterprise. We opened the emergency shelter. We launched a transitional housing program for 2 of our graduates last year, and have really revamped and strengthened our clinical program so that we are seeing such better outcomes with our residents, where they are really achieving the healing that they want when they come to our program. So this is one way anybody can support North Star, by getting on Florissant's website and knowing that when you're buying these really beautiful wax melts and wax sachets, which are the first products that we launched this year, that is going to employ survivors that are in our program.
It's a really great idea. That's fantastic that they have this opportunity to work their way back into, normal workforce society. That's awesome. You talked a little bit about some of the partnerships that you have with some of the local organizations who are fighting the trafficking itself. What other community-based programs do you either collaborate with or get support from, or provide support to? What we find often on Lancaster Connects, we have conversations and we realize these organizations are all kind of interwoven and connected to each other to help each other out to, rise the tide, right?
Yes. One of the things that I'm so deeply committed to, Ben, is the reality that in order to end trafficking, and in order truly to see the level of restoration that we desire for our residents to experience, everybody in the community has a place on this battlefront. Like, we can win this war to end trafficking as we each leverage our individual strengths. So I am not about competition, and especially in the nonprofit world and with our colleagues in this. We are so privileged to be members of the Human Trafficking Task Force in Heather Adams' office of the District Attorney of Lancaster County. And we work very closely there with Zoe International and the YWCA. Zoe taking the lead with Brad Ortenzi's leadership as coordinator of the task force. We meet monthly. We make plans and adjust, like, what are you doing? Because we're not going to duplicate something you're doing. Where's the gap? What's the need? who's going to take lead on that and how do we support them. We also have really strong collaborations with some other both anti-trafficking organizations like Hope Inspire Love, but also organizations where they don't want to see trafficking happen and they are reaching vulnerable populations. So talking to the School Counselor Association and providing education, talking to school districts on their staff enrichment days and providing education. We have collaborations with some vendors. I would say vendors, but they are really partners in this work. Covenant MD is a local doctor's office that provides medical care for our residents. We partner with some therapeutic organizations and psychiatric organizations. There are so many different, even businesses that either provide services for us at no charge because they believe in our mission. And like, I can't do anything to be a therapist for one of the residents, but I could come build a fence for you, or I could mow a lawn for you, or we could bring a work group to come do cleanup, or we could provide an opportunity for residents to be in the community. We have people who donate experiences that our residents can go out and just do normal life in the community as anybody else would. And we function as we do because our community is so invested. So often, sometimes people come to me and they say, well, I don't know what I would be able to do. And I'd say, well, what do you do? What lights you up? And how might that fit? Well, really just, I love to cook. Would you love to come do cooking classes with residents or provide a meal for our staff who work so hard and would be so blessed to have a meal at our staff meeting? Another person might say, well, we provide cleaning supplies. You know what? We go through a lot of cleaning supplies, and that might be a great tax write-off. So if I started listing the different organizations and communities and businesses that invest their time, skill, talent, it is county-wide from so many people. We have a lot of really generous business sponsors who make our fundraisers a reality, and we don't do what we do without that kind of financial investment. I know that at the end of the day, everybody expects nonprofits to talk about money, but the reality is that we are completely community funded and have been since the beginning, because there are individuals who are monthly donors. There are businesses who sponsor events and activities and fundraisers. And we are seeing real life transformation in survivors of sex trafficking, things that they never expected to happen in their lives because of the way that people choose to invest.
It's amazing what a community can do to support itself.
Life-changing. It literally changes outcomes for generations then.
You mentioned Covenant MD. We actually use all of our staff here uses Covenant MD as a benefit of working here at Gardner. So shout out to Dr. Rohal and his team there at Covenant MD. And Brad Ortenzi from Zoe International. We had Brad on the show months ago, maybe over the last summer, something like that. But that was a really important, impactful conversation we had with him as well.
Brad is a friend. We work really closely on a lot of initiatives, and it's one of the things I value, to not show up in competition, but to collaborate and say, what could we do if we came at this problem together? And I just deeply, deeply grateful for the privilege of being able to do that with Zoe and with Brad and with the task force.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And from a Gardner standpoint, I'm aware that you have housing needs and probably mattress needs. If you ever need a mattress, reach out, please.
I will call you. Thank you. Thank you.
We would love to. We would love to support what you're doing there.
Thank you.
So Chris has it up there on the screen, some other ways that the community can support. I know you probably have some fundraising events. You said you're community supported. So, feel free to talk about some of your events and maybe some of the other ways that the community or businesses can get involved.
Our main fundraising event is in the fall, Light the Way. It is going to be in October. I don't remember the date offhand. Right now, we're looking for business sponsors to help
Mhm.
underwrite the expenses of that event so that people who come are giving directly to the work that we do with survivors every day. We also do have on our website, along with an Amazon wish list, the opportunity for people. Sometimes businesses like hosting drives to collect. And I would say some of the most mundane things are sometimes the most impactful. If you think
Mhm.
about what you go through in a house in a week or in a month or in a year, we're doing the same thing at both locations of personal supplies, cleaning supplies, toiletry supplies, things that the more that somebody says, you know what, we might not be able to do much, but we could collect a bunch of paper towels and toilet paper, great, because not having to do that means that we can put that into equine therapy for our residents, or we can put
Mm.
that into specialized psychiatric care for somebody who has pressing needs, or we can put that into the legal needs of our residents. So sometimes people want to run drives. Some of those ideas are on our website. Sometimes people are interested in doing a group project. We don't have many of those. Our location is sensitive, and we don't have a
Sure.
lot of opportunities for people to be face to face with our residents. We protect their privacy pretty carefully,
Yeah.
but sometimes we have cleanup, construction needs. Sometimes there's people with specific professional expertise, whether it's certain wellness, a
Yeah.
nutrition, somebody willing to teach nutrition, or a nurse practitioner in psychiatry that's like, you know what, I might be able to contribute something. We're looking for those things for an occupational therapist. But then, like I said, and like you just did, Ben, you modeled that so beautifully for the audience of here's what we could contribute.
Yeah.
How about a mattress? We have beds that need mattresses renewed, and that means that there's a survivor having a better
Yep.
night's sleep because
Yep.
you cared to make a difference with that. So
Yep.
again, my question is like, what do you have that you're able to be generous
Yeah.
with and you want to make a difference? There's probably an opportunity for that. Some of those specifics are on our website. We
Yep.
have it linked to our Amazon wish list. We have it, people can donate clothing, donate, like I said, experiences or gift cards to be able to go out and do things in the community. And all of those, if it's like this is it for now, but it is for later, we
Yeah.
can we can put those to good use to make a difference in the lives of survivors.
That's great. We talk often on the show about the community's collective time, talent, and treasure. Obviously, funding is very helpful, but time and talent is really just as important. And not everybody can donate financially or contribute financially, but like you said, the time that they can give, or maybe talents that they can lend. A nutritionist, that's a great example. Somebody that could be on site there and provide some education that they may not a victim of sex trafficking may not have had in their life to this point. So
And
that's
even
great.
even beyond that, part of ending trafficking is driving awareness. So even things
Yeah,
as simple as signing up for our email newsletter, following our social media
yeah.
accounts, sharing those,
Sharing. Yeah,
like maybe you're sharing that post as a connecting point to someone else who needs something that we offer,
yeah,
or is connecting something that they can offer to us. So the more awareness that we have of the issues and the opportunities, like we are changing the narrative around this
yeah,
in Lancaster County. So every new partner, even when it's for awareness, and along with that, we do a lot of community presentations. Last year, we did over 85 presentations for businesses, for churches, for organizations. We'll come over a lunch hour and do a lunch and learn. We'll do it virtually. The more we can tell people, here's the facts, here's what
yeah.
we're doing, here's what you can do, here's what to do if you have a concern. We love those opportunities, and people can go to our website and request a speaker. We will come
That's awesome.
anywhere and speak to any group, and we would just really love the opportunity to do that. And that might be where people most want to connect with us.
That's great. That's great. I mean, speaking of Brad, I think there he is on the screen there.
Yes, that is the Welcome to the Battle event. So we host this event in January. One of the events that we host is called Welcome to the Battle. It's an awareness event.
Okay.
And we also host a multitude of other organizations in the anti-trafficking field,
Mm-hmm.
different experts on the panel answering questions, sharing what's actually happening in this space. But then the other organizations have tables available as well, so the community can come in, meet them, find out how to get involved, find their space, find their people, and that's one of the events that we really enjoy being able to host.
That's awesome. So, 45 minutes goes like that. That's crazy. Um, just to kind of wrap up the conversation, and this might be kind of hitting you without, prepping you for this question, but success stories, maybe obviously you're not sharing specific details, but maybe just a success story or two of somebody who's, who made the decision to be part of the rehabilitation efforts at North Star Initiative, and then has come out on the other side and has really thrived from the program.
I'll try to make this brief because I know we're out of town, out of time. We had a resident come into our program who, young, beautiful, smart, capable young woman. And she came into the program with DNR tattooed on her arm, which means do not resuscitate.
Oh my
And
gosh.
shared that when she was in the worst of the situation that she was in, she didn't feel brave enough to take her own life, but she assumed that was only a matter of time until her life was at risk because something would happen to her that would probably end her life. And if that happened, when that happened, she didn't want anybody to do anything to keep her here.
Wow.
So she had actually tattooed that onto her arm. And one of the things that we go through phase over phase in our program, we review with individual residents, what are your goals for yourself? How do we support your goals around different areas? What do you want? What can we provide? And it was about 6 months into the program where she brought up and asked what it would take to get the tattoo covered up. And it's one of the things. So talking about community involvement, tattoo artists are actually a pretty big part of our program because we do not have a single resident in our program ever who's not come into the program with a tattoo on her body that was put on her body as a result of her trafficking. That is a branding and a dehumanizing thing that traffickers do. So we have tattoo artists who volunteer their skill to cover up things that the residents no longer want. So she was able to work with a tattoo artist to just put a really beautiful, bold tattoo on herself, a design of her choosing that showed to her, when I asked her what it meant to her, it was an image that represented to her that the power of evil had been broken in her life and didn't have hold of her anymore. From there, when our case manager asked her, like, why do you want to get this tattoo cover up? She said, because I don't feel that way anymore. I don't want to die. Well, she continued through our program. She was able to earn some trade certifications, get a job that she really enjoys, a skilled job that pays really well, was able to get a car because a community member let her buy it way under market value so she could afford it. She moved into transitional housing that she was able to afford because a landlord was willing to give her a chance. So you see, again, like the involvement from the community, opening doors for somebody not to have hurdles reintegrating. And when I emailed her to confirm the plans for her to have access to affordable housing, her response back was, Melinda, I'm just so happy to be alive.
Oh my gosh.
That transformation piece is literally, it is hard and complicated work. I say this is hard and holy, but seeing the transformation on a regular basis of going through the hard, watching them press through their willingness to change, calling us to do our best work possible because they deserve it. Because then on the other side, we see this kind of, I want to die, to I'm so happy to be alive.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, that story started out so somber, somebody that, if given the opportunity, live or die, they would choose
I would rather
the
die.
latter. And to see her come out on the other side, flourishing, that's amazing. I mean, it's a testament to her for making the decision and working hard through the program, and a testament to the hard work that you all are doing, you and your team, kind of carrying out the vision that Jen Sensenig
Yes. Yep.
had, 15 years ago,
Mhm.
and the vision that she saw for the program, and that you continue to carry out, and all the new programs that you're integrating and everything. It's really just, I'm sure it's extremely hard work and rewarding work. Obviously, seeing what the transformations that can be made. So this was awesome. Having you on the show and
Thank
having
you
you
for
tell the stories. It's awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So,
appreciate the way you connect our community.
yeah, we're trying. We're trying. we really didn't know, what this show might look like 4 years ago when we started it. But for us, it's a way to give back to the community a little bit and allow people to tell their stories. It's you probably don't get a ton of opportunities to. Well, I mean, you're out in the community, sharing what you do. But I know sometimes small organizations need help getting the story out there. So if we can be just a little part of that, that's what we want out of it. So, do you have a few more minutes for a few questions to get to know you a little bit better?
Go for it.
All right. So, connection cocktail. There we go. So I think it's spring now. Like we might be like a few days into spring.
I'm hoping.
It's we've had flashes of nice weather and sunshine, and then it's kind of gray and cloudy and cold again. But I think it is officially spring. So what are you looking forward to this spring, or either any spring?
Spring is my favorite season.
Okay.
Hands down. I love spring, and I love spring because of the renewal. You come through this dark, cold, dreary, for a lot of people, winter feels that way. And then things start to come alive, and the warm weather's back, and everything's green and beautiful and flourishing. And I just love this annual reminder that there is goodness and beauty and hope coming. There is goodness, and look, and here it is. It is inevitable. It is inevitable. Yep. It is coming, and it's here.
We can't stop it.
I love spring. I love the green and the flourishing and the buds.
That's awesome. Well, you're about to hit your stride then, I guess, right? So maybe in that vein, what do you like to do to unwind? Maybe during spring.
Favorite thing to do in spring to unwind is go on hikes. Particularly where it's not muddy, but it's green and beautiful. So hikes are my favorite thing. If it's been the end of a long day, I'll say if it's a particular hard day, I just cocoon at home, and it's a cup of tea and a book and some like just gathering my bandwidth again. But favorite thing to unwind would have to be outdoor hikes and being in nature.
I figured it might be something like that.
Yeah.
And then the last question, we like to find out what people like to eat, or maybe specifically what your favorite restaurant in Lancaster might be.
Cella's. Been a fan of Cella's since we've been in Lancaster County now for about 8 years, and we discovered Cella's early on, and I love their chicken bowl.
And so they used to just have a food truck. I think now they have a physical location.
I have not been to the physical location downtown yet. Our whole experience is around going to the truck.
Okay. Yep.
So I haven't been downtown yet.
Yeah, I have not either. But you're not the first person to mention Cella's as their favorite. So they got something special.
Yeah.
Chicken bowl. Is that chicken, rice?
Yes, beans. Yep.
Yep.
Avocado, tomato. I add the avocado light on the cheese. That's my go-to.
See, I would be all the same, but like double or triple the cheese. my body doesn't like that, I'm sure, but my brain.
But your mouth sure does.
yes, exactly. Well, thanks for playing along, Melinda.
Thank you.
Again, and again, thanks for being on the show to share the important work that North Star Initiative is doing. This is a really impactful conversation.
It's been my privilege. And if we can help anyone in the community in any way, our website's there. Don't hesitate to reach out. We would just love to be a resource in any way to anyone who has questions or needs.
Yeah, that's awesome. In fact, so this is an audio podcast as well. So, Chris, if you could flash the website up again. I know we have NorthStarInitiative.org is the website. Obviously, Facebook, just look up North Star Initiative, Instagram as well, and FlorissantCollective.com. I'm not going to spell that one, but I think if you Google Florissant Collective, you'll find that.
Florissant with 2 S's. And if you can't find our website, but you can remember info@NorthStarInitiative.org, just send over an email and we'll make sure it gets to the right person. info@NorthStarInitiative.org.
Perfect. Well, again, Melinda, thank you for being on Lancaster Connects. Hope you have a nice afternoon.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Oh my, it's great to have this platform to be able to share these stories of the hard work that goes on really behind the scenes in Lancaster. 4 or 5 years ago when we had North Star Initiative on, really never thought about that something like this could go on in Lancaster County. And to know that it's been going on for 15 years and more. It's just hard to hear, but grateful to people like Melinda and of course Jen, who started North Star Initiative 15 years ago, and all the people that work there, who pour their heart and soul into these survivors of sex trafficking. It's amazing, the hard work and dedication that they have to what they do. So again, it was great to have Melinda on to share that story. So we're about out of time. Just quickly again mention that Lancaster Connects is brought to you by Gardner's Mattress and More. You may have noticed some audible activity in the showroom. Sometimes in the 2 to 3 o'clock hour on Monday, we have nobody in the store. Other times we get super busy. So Chad's probably going crazy out there. But he's providing the community with hopefully a better night's sleep and happy morning wake up. So thanks for putting up with the audio rumbles in the background there. We do like to share testimonials from consumers who have a great experience at Gardner's. Again, our whole goal is sleeping better and happy morning wake ups. We're Lancaster's favorite mattress store for the last 15 years, which is a distinction we earn every day with our customers. Of course, gardnersmattressandmore.com/reviews. You can check out some of the awesome things that people have said about us. I thought this one was fun. We obviously people can review online, Google, Facebook. That's pretty normal, I think, for people these days. But we do give handwritten testimonial forms on delivery, and people, fill it out and mail it back. This person will remain nameless because they've requested that, but typed out their response, which I thought was cool. I know myself, I prefer to type instead of write. So anyway, this person here just said that our salespeople, Phil, Chad, are excellent. They helped me when I had questions and left me alone when I just wanted to focus on the mattress. So that's what we're here for. We will answer as many questions, guide and direct, and make recommendations as best we can. But we're here to leave you to your own research and speed for making the purchase. So, we want to make sure that we help you select the mattress that's right for you, right? And they also said that your process of helping the customer, picking the mattress, and then delivering the mattress with your own people, Sean and John, is just right. Keep doing it that way. So again, thanks to this unnamed person for their typed out review. Very much appreciated. We're humbled by all the kind words that people say about our service here. So, well, that's the show. Chris, thank you for paging through that. There, you can, on our website, you can see some of the handwritten testimonials that we've gotten over the years. So again, thank you for watching Lancaster Connects. It was great to have Melinda on from North Star Initiative today. Again, if you'd like to be a guest on Lancaster Connects, go to lancasterconnects.com, click on the guest tab at the top, or I think it says be a guest in the menu, or type it into the URL/guest and fill out the simple form there. We'd love to tell your story, just like we had Melinda on to tell the North Star Initiative story. So again, thanks for watching. Hope everybody has a nice afternoon, and we'll see you on the next connection.
exploded through the roof. So there you go.